Hey to all metal maniacs, and I am back again for another midweek video, continuing on last Wednesday's 5 heavy metal vocalists you never heard of. This week I'm treating you to 5 heavy metal guitarists you have never heard of as well. So without losing any more time, off we go to the video. Let's go! Hi there again. If you are new here, the aim of this channel is to review albums and festivals, suggest bands, delve in the cultural aspect of heavy metal in general and more. So if you're interested in this content, please consider supporting us by subscribing, liking and sharing our videos on social media. I hope most of you have already watched last week's video with regards to the vocalists, as most of the rules apply also to this video. Basically, I decided to include on this list guitarists who wrote and played the music mostly in the 80s. Just like with vocalists, I will do in the future videos focusing more on the 90s decade, 2000, etc. So just subscribe obviously so that you are notified every time I post up a new video. Also, my choices are based on the emotions these guitarists transmit and not about technique or speed. That doesn't really impress me personally. For me, the essence of heavy metal is the emotions, the passion, how much heart and soul you are putting in your music. And this shows in the music they released and the relationship, in this case, between the musician and the guitar. Still keeping with the traditional heavy metal sphere, but on this video I made a slight minor exception, but I will let you know once I arrive there as well. One last thing, there is no order of preference. They are just 5 names of guitarists who I respect equally for different reasons. First guitarist on the list is the king of heaviness, after Tony Iommi of course, and I'm referring to Griffin from Death Row, Pentagram, Place of Skulls, amongst other bands. Probably in the 3 words king of heaviness, I have given you all the necessary information about this guitarist. If you have never heard his bands, Griffin has always been associated with doom metal acts, mainly with Pentagram, who are regarded as the Black Sabbath of the United States, and in this case Griffin is the Tony Iommi of the US. His guitar tone is one of the heaviest you will definitely get to hear. We had the honor of having Place of Skulls at one of the Malta Doom Metal Festivals editions, and believe me, the place, although not big, was literally shaking. I just can't think of another guitarist that offers so much in terms of heavy brutality, actually. Apart also from his ability to churn out great riffs, and also, like with Place of Skulls, taking the role of a vocalist. So an all-rounded musician who is severely underrated and a great guy as well. I got to know him a bit, took the band around the island. Dan Pete also from Place of Skulls. I have some great memories of that whole weekend, and whilst I'm at it, I send my regards to them. And here's hoping you are all doing fine. second name on the list, and I bring you Bill Tsamis from Warlord. I had already mentioned Warlord in the US Power Metal Essential Albums video, and definitely deserves to be on this list for his unique style. Anyone who knows the band will understand what I'm referring to in here, but for those who don't know the band, what you hear in Warlord you basically won't get to hear in any other band. There is a certain identity, and which mainly comes from the guitar playing of Tsamis. Mark Zonder on drums as well does a brilliant job, but the guitars with Warlord are just amazing. Again, this is not about technique or some virtuoso characteristics, but that kind of magical and mystical delivery that is a very rare thing to find. And I firmly believe that within this category, Bill Tsamis is one of the main names, for sure a pioneer within the epic power metal sphere. Bill Tsamis was also involved in another band named Lordian Guard, with which he released a number of tracks which were originally Warlord demos, and some were in turn re-recorded by Warlord in 2002 for the Rising Out of the Ashes album. There was also Lordian Winds, which was more of an acoustic band but still upholding those mystical sounds which are a constant around the works of Bill Tsamis. Unfortunately, Bill passed away suddenly a few months ago on May the 13th, and it is definitely a huge loss for the underground heavy metal scene. So, Bill Tsamis, rest in peace. The next guitarist on this list shares some characteristics with Tsamis, although their background is quite different. I'm referring to Alan Jones from the band Pagan Altar. Again, one of my all-time favorite bands, included them in the new wave of British heavy metal favorite albums video, part 1. But Pagan Altar are much more than just new wave of British heavy metal. They incorporate a folkish and doomy touch to proceedings, kind of a Jethro Tull feeling at certain parts. And this is where Alan's guitars really take the center stage. He has a kind of a knack for writing great guitar solos which elevate the music and make it more unique and to a certain extent grandiose. Quite like the previous guitarist, although Tsamis came from an American background, whilst in Pagan Altar you can kind of feel that British 19th century Victorian era. This comes through also through the lyrics penned by the late Terry Jones, who was brilliant at capturing that atmosphere. More than fantasy-tinged atmosphere, with Pagan Altar you have a more occult dimension, and this brilliantly comes through Alan Jones's great guitar leads. Such an underrated guitarist and band in general. I will never stop saying this because Pagan Altar are just so great. Like all the bands on this list, like all the guitarists bands from this list, but Pagan Altar has a special place in my heart. Guitarist, and I bring you Jerry Fogle from the band Kirit Ungol. Another legendary underground band and a very underrated guitarist. Continuing from the previous guitarist, Alan Jones, again we have here a great lead guitarist with the ability to compose and execute great guitar solos. It is probably the best characteristic of Siritungal's music, the guitar solo, and this is all merit to Jerry Fogle. They are so appropriate and so on point in each and every track. It's really quite absurd at times. It's so good. I firmly believe that if Siritungal had more success in the 80s and he would not have unfortunately succumbed to an early death due to liver failure, Jerry Fogle would nowadays be regarded as one of the greatest in the heavy metal world. He was kind of ahead of his time, and as I believe all the bands on this list were to a certain extent, and we know quite well that if you do not adhere to the label's requests, it would be difficult for any band to make headway in the music industry. But their uniqueness in the underground scene kept their name alive until their return in the late 2000s, unfortunately without Fogle, as he passed away in 1998. But again, Siritungal, brilliant band, and I'm happy for them that they are gathering so much attention nowadays with their return. The fifth name, and the one I mentioned in the intro, to be a bit more out of the traditional metal sphere, and I'm referring to Thomas Vetterli, aka Tommy T. Barron from the band Coroner. For those that have no idea who Coroner are, they play a style referred to as technical thrash metal. Now, I'm not a guitarist myself, although I used to go to guitar lessons when I was younger, and as I already said, I'm not into assessing guitarists solely for their technique. But in this case, the technique is of the highest order, but I'm not adding him to this list because of that. I'm adding him almost to a certain extent despite of that, in the sense that although one can clearly see the ability of Tommy on guitars, it is his ability to take the technique and bring it to the service of the whole track that makes him great. On many occasions, these great technical guitarists tend to forget the track they are playing and just insert a guitar solo which doesn't really complement the track, it is used just to show off basically. But when the ability is brought to the service of the track, then it is at that moment that the spark ignites, at least for myself. Coroner have the ability to combine all elements in one musical bomb, so to speak, and this is greatly because of the talents of Tommy T. Barron. The way he jumps from a guitar solo to a heavy fast riff and back is so natural and distinctive. It's so amazing to hear these great tracks they have released throughout the years in a live setting being executed to perfection. I'm kind of speechless every damn time. So what do you think of those choices? Did you guess any of them? Obviously some are a bit more obscure than others, but in general all of these guitarists get surpassed quite easily in the general discourse. So as usual, my aim is to give them a bit back as somewhat of a thank you for the music they have given us, and which brings so much joy to me, at least till the present day. Let me know in the comments as well which are your favorite lesser known guitarists. I would really appreciate that a lot, that you share your ideas with us. I would also appreciate it if you could click on the subscribe and the bell, like the video as I said, and share it on social media in order to reach more metalheads. Check out the affiliate links in the description. If you use those for your purchase, we get a small commission to no extra expense for you. I guess that is all. Until the next video, stay safe and metal on. Cheers.